Now, yesterday, following two postponements, the Judicial Commission of Inquiry into allegations of state capture, corruption and fraud in the public sector, including organs of state, chaired by Deputy Chief Justice Raymond Zondo, finally got to listen to the testimony of the former head of the Independent Police Investigative Directorate head, Robert McBride, which is still continuing today, as you've just seen. The delays were due to what evidence leader, Advocate Pretorius, referred to as technical and incapacity matters. But what also came out at the start of the hearing yesterday was that part of Mr. McBride's submissions mentioned the chair's brother, and time was spent checking if this could impact the process. To help us make sense of it, the Professor of Law at the University of Cape Town, Pierre de Vos, joins us now via Skype. Very good afternoon to you, Professor de Vos. The capacitation of the Commission forms part of its premise in terms of the Commission's Act of 1947. How will the constant moving back and forth of hearings due to the incapacity affect the Commission's work?
Well, I'm not sure the Commission is incapacitated. What is actually the case is that there is now the Commission. It has a whole network of people working for it. And the head of the Commission, the Deputy Chief Justice, now is confronted with this problem of a possible conflict of interest. I suspect that that conflict of interest is not really going to have any real effect on the work of the Commission, because it's dealing with a very small part of the overall work of the Commission. Also, in terms of the law, the court has said that you have to look at what would a reasonable person think in the context. Is there a fear that the person presiding over a hearing is biased or could be biased? In this case, we'll have to see what the judge says and whether he thinks that there is such a problem here.
The conversation that came out yesterday was whether the judge could recuse himself from the Commission or recuse himself from Mr. McBride's testimony, or recuse himself from the bit which mentions his brother, to which the judge chose to stay, saying that he will consult on this matter. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, it's an interesting case because this is not a court of law. So in a trial, there would have been a real problem, because the judge or the presiding officer would need to evaluate all the evidence. So you can't recuse yourself from one bit and not from the other. A commission of inquiry is a little bit different, because the Commission of Inquiry makes findings and recommendations, but it is not like a court of law that can make final judgments that are binding on anyone. So I suspect the last option, that the Deputy Chief Justice could say, well, I am not going to make any finding on this aspect and the testimony relating to my brother. That is probably the most likely to be the wise thing to do.
You state that it's not a court of law, and in this case, the buck stops with the president. Does he have in this conversation any reason to want to change anything in terms of the Commission and who heads it?
I will be very surprised if there is such a move. Firstly, just for practical reasons, the Commission has already sat for months. There's millions and millions of rands spent, and the potential problem is so minuscule, so small, that I can't imagine that there will be a replacement of the Deputy Chief Justice. Also, given the fact that the Deputy Chief Justice is in that position because, according to the Public Protector report, he was nominated by the Chief Justice. So the President didn't actually select the name. So for all the practical reasons, and also because the potential problem of conflict of interest is so small, I would be surprised if there's a problem.
The other thing that Advocate Pretorius did yesterday was to go into the rubrics of all the organizations and the institutions that affect what Mr. McBride will be presenting. In terms of the law and looking at classified information and personal information, how far can the Commission go in terms of revealing certain things?
Well, the Commission has powers, including subpoena powers, and it can also request, of course, the President or the relevant minister to have certain documents declassified. not all, or it can actually request to get access to documents, but not do so in the public domain. So there could be an in-camera hearing, for example, if it is really necessary to protect the security of the state and so forth. But there is, apart from political will and the willingness of those in power to make things public, there is not really anything that the Commission cannot get its hand on legally, that is, because the Commission can get their hands on something legally, but not reveal it with the public if there's really a threat to security.
My last two questions are related, but not really. The National Prosecutions Authority's head, Shamila Batoyi, announcing this week that she has appointed a few advocates who will have a specific focus on the Commission with the intention of trying to figure out if there are any prosecutable revelations. What for you? You've been following the process. What for you are the low-hanging fruit?
Oh dear, that is difficult. I haven't really thought about that. There's obviously a lot of information already in the public domain. There is actually the Bosasa cases, which was investigated 10 years ago, and where there was recommendations to prosecute. There's in fact a special investigative unit investigations, I don't know how many, 300, 600 cases in which recommendations were made for prosecution. So there's already an investigation completed. In not one of the cases was a prosecution actually initiated. So maybe that is one place to start, exactly because the investigations have actually already been done.
All right, yesterday, on a matter unrelated, there was a graduation ceremony in your university, your institution. Mr. Andrew Mlangeni and Mr. Dennis Goldberg were given honorary degrees. How was that?
Well, I wasn't there. Our graduation for the law faculty is tonight. That's why I'm dressed in my jacket. But of course, the graduation is always a fantastic experience because you really feel the hope and the joy of the students, especially who graduate. So yes, I'm looking forward to tonight.
Thank you so much for talking to us.